Hey everybody, in this video we're going to look at some live processing techniques in Ableton Live. Live processing is fun to use in performance and is a way to extend acoustic instruments to create electro-acoustic contexts. So let's go and get started. As we talked about in a previous video, when you open Ableton, this is what it's going to look like. A couple MIDI tracks, a couple audio tracks. We're going to be using audio tracks for this. So I'm going to go ahead and delete my MIDI tracks and delete one of my audio tracks. If you ever need to create an audio track or a MIDI track or return track for that matter, you can easily do that by going to the top of your screen, click create, then you have entered audio track, MIDI track, or return track. That's one way to do it. For audio tracks, you can also create them just by pressing Command T. So that's another way you can create an audio track if you ever have to do that. Next thing we're going to do is set our input-output settings. We're going to do that by going up to the top of our screen, Live, Preferences. My audio output device is already set to my Scarlett interface that I'm using. I'm using a 4i4 today. And then we're going to set the input device to the Scarlett as well. So there we go. If you ever need to configure the amount of inputs or outputs, you can do that with these buttons here. I'm going to click Input Configuration. Right now I have channels 1 through 4 turned on for mono and stereo inputs. If you're using multiple outputs, you can do that here as well. I already have those on. Just a quick note on microphone selection when it comes to live processing. Typically, you're going to want to use a cardioid microphone or a supercardioid microphone or some other microphone that has a really focused sound. You essentially just don't want, whatever's coming out of the speakers, or if you're playing with other musicians, whatever the other musicians are doing, to be kind of coming back and then getting picked up by the microphone. You want whatever it is that you're trying to process live to be kind of the only thing that's getting processed. Today we're going to be using a Beta 57A. It's a fantastic microphone that's great for live sound environments and also for live processing environments. I typically use it with acoustic instruments. Do check with whatever microphone you're going to be using. If you're going to be using a onstage monitor, sometimes you have to set that up in a very specific way so you don't get feedback from the monitor. The 57A is one of those. You actually have to set it up kind of behind the mic, but at a 45-degree angle away, never directly behind. So check on that so you're setting up a monitor in a way that's not going to create feedback. All right, so the next thing we need to do is select the channel that we're sending our microphone to. So this microphone that we're going to use for the processing is going down and into my Focusrite in channel 2. So we're going to go to Audio From, click the drop down. Channel 2 is already selected, which is great, but I just want to show you how to do it. So we're going to click channel 2, and now my channel is selected for what I'm going to use with my live processing. Next thing we need to do is set our microphone level. So I'm going to hit Record Enable now, and I'm going to switch the monitor setting to Auto. So now you can see that we're some signal is coming through on our audio track, and the audio or the signal is a little bit weak. I typically like the signal to be coming in about negative 12 decibels. So we need to adjust the gain to get it there. One tool that I like to use to help with this is this meter right here. Anytime you click the meter, it resets, and it's always showing you the highest decibel that's being registered as you're kind of setting your level. So let me start bumping this up. So let's try again. So now I'm around negative 33. Try again, and now I'm at about negative 17. Just need to go a little farther. So let's see where that's coming in now. Negative 15, negative 14. Just a little more. Test, 1, 2, check, 1, 2, check. So there was negative 12. I went past negative 12 just a little bit, like one time on the transients, kind of boosted it a little bit, but I think it's fine right there. So the next thing I want to talk about is monitor settings in Ableton on audio tracks. So the off setting, now you can't hear what's coming through this microphone, coming through your speakers or through your headphones, but I could record this signal. So if I hit record up here, check, 1, 2, test. My name is Alex. Test. Check. Test. So you can actually see that it's recording exactly what I'm saying to the microphone. So if I stop the recording and hit play, check, 1, 2, test. My name is Alex. Test. So everything that I was saying was going through. I just couldn't hear it through my headphones or through my speakers, which however you're kind of listening to yourself in your own studio. So this I think is handy. Like for example, I use the offsetting for monitoring whenever I'm recording drums, because when I record drums, usually I'm listening to a track, and I usually just want the track in my ears because I can hear myself playing the drums through my headphones. And in fact, whenever I monitor drums when recording, I find that it's not all that helpful. So I use the monitor offsetting for doing that type of thing. The monitor auto setting, now you can hear your voice coming through the speakers or through your headphones. It also operates the same if I hit record, check, test, test 1, 2. It's being recorded just like it was before in the monitor offsetting. And then if I hit record, check, test, test 1, 2, you can hear that as well. I use the auto setting oftentimes when I am using a MIDI device in Ableton, and I want to be able to hear like whatever software instrument I'm using as I'm playing it or recording or whatever it is. The monitor in setting is the one that I use for live processing. And if I turn the monitor in setting, it kind of operates the same, where now I can hear myself through my speakers or my headphones, whatever I'm saying into the microphone. But also what's interesting about the monitor in setting is if I turn record enable off, I can still hear myself. That is only true in the monitor in setting. What's also cool about the monitor in setting is I can actually record blank clips into my audio track, and then while those clips are playing, I can still speak to the microphone or play through the microphone and get sound coming out my speakers. The last thing I want to show you about the monitor in setting is, and this is a little bit different than the auto setting, is if I hit record, check, test 1, 2, notice nothing is recording right now, and that's because record enable is not on. As soon as I turn record enable on, check, now it's recording again. Also a difference here, when I stop the recording, you can still hear my voice coming through. If I hit play though, you're not going to hear that track until I go back and turn the monitor setting to auto or off, and now I can play the track. Check, now it's recording again. Check. So the in setting is again, we're going to talk about this here more in just a second, but I use that a lot for live processing for some of those reasons. So there's just a little overview of monitor settings in Ableton. Okay, so now that we've talked about some monitor settings in Ableton, let's now do a little bit of live processing. So of course, one really quick and easy way that you can do this is just putting the effect directly onto the audio track. So we're going to go over here to our browser. We're going to select audio effects, and then here kind of things you have to choose from. I'm going to open up delay. Let's pick a delay. My track is selected. I can either double click or I can drag and drop. I'm just going to double click. So now my voice has delay on it. So that's one really quick and easy way. That's not, I don't think that's the best way. I usually like to do this with return tracks. So let's now talk about that. Over here on the right side of your screen, this is kind of what, if you open up a new session of Ableton, this is what you're going to see. You're going to see two return tracks, your A return, which is reverb, your B return, which is delay, and then your master track right here. So these return tracks, you can see like dry wet knobs for them right here on your audio track. So if I turn the knob up on A, check, that's put reverb on my voice. If I turn the dry wet knob up on B, now I have delay on my voice. Of course, you can adjust the nature of your reverb by selecting the return track, and now you can mess with all these options. And also same with your B return track, you can now mess with all of these options right there. So I'm going to create two more return tracks, so we just have a couple more options in terms of effects and live processing that we can do. So I'm going to do that by going up to the top of the screen, create, insert return track, and I'll do that 2 times. So now I have a C return and a D return, so notice that now I also have C knobs and D knobs. So I'm going to use something that's pretty recognizable, so we're going to put overdrive on the C return, so again still in audio effects, I'm going to click the drop down for drive and color. There's overdrive. I've got the C return selected, so I'm just going to double click. And now if I turn the C up, check, 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 that is changing the nature of my voice there. So check, 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 check. That'll work. Okay, so there is some overdrive, and then the next thing I want to put on here is a external plugin. So I want to go over here to the left to in the browser and click plugins, and I'm going to use a wave plugin that I like. It's a GTR Stomp, and we're going to use the stereo version. I've got deselected. I'm going to double click. Now I'm going to click this drop down arrow, and I'm going to add the pitch baser. This is really fun. So now if I turn my D return up and I talk into the microphone, I have all these cool options to transpose my voice. So yeah, that's a really fun plugin. So I'm gonna turn that back down. Okay, so that's how you add effects to your audio tracks using return tracks. So you can adjust these knobs manually, kind of as I've been doing, as I've been demonstrating. I think a better way and a more performative way to do it is by using a technique we talked about in a previous video, which is Midi mapping. So I can do that by clicking Command M, and I'm going to select what I want to be controlled with my mouse, and now I'm going to move what I want to control it. So now B, I want that fader, C, I want that fader, and D, I want that fader. Hit Command M again. So now, check, 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 check. There's reverb. Check, 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 check. There's delay. Check, 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 check. There's the overdrive, which I'm not going to put too much on. And then here's my favorite. Check, 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 check. So that's a way you can kind of control your effects in a more performative way. There's a rule that I try to go by whenever I'm performing with technology, when I'm teaching my students to perform with technology, which is when you're performing, stay off your keyboard, stay off your mouse, use your MIDI devices and make sure it's working exactly how you want it to work. So this MIDI controller that I'm using, it's an Axiom, and it's pretty old. I love it. I still use it all the time. Some of the newer ones nowadays, like your Novations and things, they're really cool, and they sync up with Ableton almost automatically, and so does the Ableton Push. They're really fabulous. A lot of my students love to use them. So your mapping might already be done for you, but if you ever want to do custom mapping, you can do that. And if you want to know how, you can drop a comment in the comments. I'll be happy to help out. Cool. So that is MIDI mapping. The next thing I want to talk about is the blank clip thing that I was talking about earlier, and this is a really cool way to have a bunch of different presets that you can go in and out of. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to record those blank clips. So I'm actually going to select a track that has nothing on it. So track 3, or channel 3, excuse me, there's no microphone or anything going on. So as I'm talking, if you're looking right here, you can't see any signal coming in. That's what we want. So I'm going to record just a blank clip. All right, there it is. And I'm going to duplicate that clip. Let's see here. I'll do 4, sure. Next, let's do 5. So we got 5 blank clips now. And so if my monitor is on in, and I have track 2 selected, which is where that this microphone is going to. Check, check, check. You can hear my voice. This clip is playing, as you see, but you can still hear me talking. And also I can turn record enable off, and it's still coming through. So the reason why I like to use these blank clips is because now I can add some automation of my return tracks. So to do that, I want to go down here into my clip settings, click the automation button. I'm going to click here on mixer, and then here are your returns. So there's my A reverb, my B delay, my C overdrive, and my D GTR stomp. So let's start with the reverb. I want to click here. So now this red line here is my reverb, and it's all the way down at -infinity decibels because, well, that's where the dial is set to. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to set our loop length. When I'm doing live processing, I like for my loop length to be really short because you're not really going to be hearing any type of rhythmic content coming from this clip because I'm only using it for automation. And when I select another preset to go to for my live processing, I like for that to happen pretty quick. Of course, it depends on the context, but in this case, we're going to set a 2-beat long loop length. So there's beat 1, beat 2, and right when we get to 3, it's going to go back to the beginning. So if I hit play on that, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, there it is. It's just kind of cycling through those 2 beats. I'm also going to set up a 1-beat starting point. So when I hit play now, it's going to play here, but then it's going to loop this section. So if I hit play, now it's stuck there. So the reason why I like to do that is because I like for my effects to kind of ease in and ease out so you don't hear any pop sounds when you're transitioning between presets. So towards that end, I'm going to start with my A reverb on the first track. I'm going to create a dot there, and we're going to fade it into, let's just, right there's fine. Check. Yeah, that's fine. So negative 6.7 decibels, that's good. So now when I hit play on this track, if you watch the A dial, it does exactly what I asked it to do here in the automation. So check. I'm going to hit play again, check. So you can hear it sort of fade in there. So the next clip, actually, I'll make one quick adjustment here. I want to just duplicate this so I don't have to reset all those loop links. All right, cool. So the next clip, what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this up to negative 6.7 or as close as I can get it for our purposes, and I'm going to fade it out because I don't want any reverb. Instead, on this clip, I want to fade in my delay. So check. Let's see, let me hit play. Check. That'll be fine, maybe just a little more. All right, good. So now if I start here, here's my reverb. You're not seeing the reverb right now because I have B delay selected. There's the reverb. And now I'm going to start the next clip. And if you watch the knobs here, A is going to fade out, B is going to fade in. Check. And there it is. And if you want to, so you can see the A there. If you want to see the B, go in, click B delay. All right, so the next clip, this is kind of the process. I'm going to select A delay, or A reverb, excuse me. I want to delete everything here because there's not going to be any reverb there. Go to B delay. Let me see where I had the high point. There was negative 4.5. So let's make our starting point the same, negative 4.5. And that might just have to, there it is. And I'm going to fade that out. There we go. And then I'm going to make C my overdrive. I'm just going to do a little bit of this because that will very quickly get a little out of control. So there's that. Let's test it. There's C. Check. Good. And then this one is going to be my Waves plugin. So I had negative 21.4. There we go. Fade that out. And then we'll go D, 0 for the starting point. And let's turn this one all the way up because it's fun. And then lastly, we're going to do one that has a little bit of everything. So on my fifth clip, let's set A reverb. That would be good, sure. And then let's set B to similar level. And let's set C to just a little bit. There we go. So let's now go through our clips. Here we go. Check. Test. There's the reverb. Check. Here's the delay. Reverb fades out. And there's the delay. Now keep your eyes on the knobs here. So delay's going to fade out, and then the overdrive's going to come in. Check. Test. There it went. So now I have overdrive, no delay. The next one, overdrive is going to fade out, and the waves plugin is going to come in. Check, 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 test, test, test. It looks like I forgot to take the reverb off. That's okay. And then the last one is going to be a little bit of everything. Check, 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 check. Oh, and I must have forgot the this one. Check, check, check. Let's do that again. Check, check, check. There they are. There's everything. Cool. So it does take a little work to kind of just program it, get it to be the way you want it to. But that's just a little bit of how to do some live processing in Ableton using return tracks and blank clips. Of course, whenever I'm doing this, I like to control my clips with my MIDI device. So I'll go and MIDI map that, and I'll put those on my pads or something like that. Or actually, oftentimes when I'm playing mallet percussion, I put them on the keys and I space them out a bunch because usually I have to hit that with a mallet. And so this is the best option for me. So two last things I wanted to share with you. The first one is adjustments you can make to your Audio 2 settings. So here are my Audio 2 settings. Right now, my audio from that track is going to my master track. So when I talk into the microphone here, you're hearing it in the master track. If I move off the microphone, you're still hearing it because I'm using this microphone through a different piece of software. But it's not going through Ableton. So again, now you can see the voice there. If I turn my reverb up, check, check, check. Now you can see my reverb coming in on my return track, which is also going to my master. So this is good if, like, for example, you want to amplify the acoustic instrument that you're live processing. In this case, it's my voice, and you want to add the processing. Let's say you're in a small space and you don't need to amplify your voice, whatever instrument it is that you're using to process, and you just want the effects to be coming out of the speakers. What I can do is click audio to the drop down and just tell it to go to the sends only. So now let me turn the reverb down. Check, check, check. Notice that nothing is going out of my master right now because it's going to the sends, but I don't have any sends turned on or returns turned on. So now if I turn that up, check, 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 now you're starting to see something come out of the master. It's just the effect, just the reverb. So that can be pretty handy. It really depends on the context you're performing in. Again, I think a small space, that would be a really great thing to use. Which brings me to my last point, which is, this live processing thing. If you're, like, let's say, rehearsing in one place and you're taking it to other venues to perform, you need to make sure you leave yourself plenty of time to do the sound check, because every single space you play in, you're going to have to make adjustments to the amount of each effect you're using. You're also going to have to be careful with your gain knobs and also your overall volume, depending on the space. You're always going to be kind of trying to reduce feedback. Again, depending on wherever you're playing. So make sure you leave yourself plenty of time to do the sound check. So on that note, to end the video today, I just wanted to share a quick recording of a piece I wrote a few years back that uses this technique, uses this MIDI device. It's called 816. It's for vibraphone, processed live, and drum set, and also my voice is processed live too. So hope you enjoyed the video and got something from it, and let me know if you have any questions. Thanks. Bye.